Marcus, a man whose frame suggested a history of powerlifting more recently devoted to comfort food, settled into a booth at Mama Rosa's, his favorite diner, the aroma of simmering marinara, a welcome balm after a long day. He unfolded the newspaper, the sports section immediately catching his eye, a familiar ritual he cherished. Subscribe and follow for more enthralling stories. Unbeknownst to him, a storm was brewing just outside, a pack of young men fueled by ignorance and hate, their eyes scanning the diner for an easy target, their minds poisoned by the venom of racial prejudice, ready to shatter the peace with their ugly brand of chaos. The door swung open with a jarring clang, and a group of young men swaggered in, their eyes glinting with a disturbing mix of arrogance and malice. They were clad in the uniform of hate, tattered jeans, heavy boots, and the unmistakable air of entitlement that comes with believing oneself superior. Their voices, loud and laced with crude jokes, immediately disrupted the diner's cozy atmosphere. Marcus tried to ignore them, burying himself deeper in his newspaper, but their presence was a palpable weight in the air. One of them, emboldened by his companions, sauntered over to Marcus's booth, a sneer twisting his lips. "Well, well, well, well," he drawled, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Look what we have here. A big fella enjoying a little pasta." His words were laced with racial slurs, each one a tiny barb designed to provoke. Marcus sighed inwardly, his grip tightening on his newspaper. He had faced down far worse in his time, but he had hoped those days were behind him. He was just trying to enjoy a quiet meal. He kept his voice calm, measured. "I'm just trying to eat my dinner," he said, his eyes meeting the young man's gaze, a silent warning simmering beneath the surface. But the gang member was undeterred, his friends gathering behind him, their faces a mask of anticipation. "You don't belong here," he spat, his words laced with venom. "This ain't your kind of place." The situation escalated quickly, words turning into shoves and the air crackling with the threat of violence. Subscribe and follow for more tales of unexpected turns. Marcus knew he couldn't back down, not anymore. He could feel the dormant warrior within him stirring, a primal instinct rising to the surface after years of suppression. The peace he so desperately craved was about to be shattered. As the tension escalated, Marcus felt a familiar rush of adrenaline coursing through his veins, a sensation he hadn't experienced since his days in the Marines. The gang's jeers and taunts faded into the background, replaced by the single-minded focus that had kept him alive in combat. He was no longer just a man enjoying dinner. He was a soldier ready to defend himself against an unjust attack. The lead gang member, emboldened by the support of his friends, shoved Marcus hard, sending his plate clattering to the floor. The sound echoed in the diner, drawing the attention of other patrons, who momentarily froze in shock. Marcus stood up slowly, towering over the group, his presence commanding respect. "You need to leave," he said firmly, his voice low and steady, but it was clear that he was done playing nice. But the gang wasn't interested in backing down. They surged forward, emboldened by their numbers and their misguided sense of superiority. The first punch came from the lead member, a wild swing aimed at Marcus's jaw. With reflexes honed from years of training, Marcus ducked and countered with a swift jab to the assailant's midsection, knocking the wind out of him and sending him stumbling back. The diner erupted into chaos as other patrons scrambled for cover or pulled out their phones to record the confrontation. The gang members charged at Marcus like a pack of wolves, but he was ready. He moved with precision and power, each motion fluid and deliberate as he utilized his training to defend himself. He sidestepped another attack and delivered a powerful roundhouse kick that sent one of them crashing into a table, scattering dishes and drinks everywhere. The fight quickly became a blur of fists and shouts. Marcus felt the thrill of combat surge through him as he took on multiple attackers at once, using his size and strength to his advantage. He disarmed one gang member who had pulled out a knife, twisting it from his grasp and tossing it aside with ease. The realization that they had underestimated him began to dawn on the gang as they struggled to keep up with his skill. But even as he fought back fiercely, Marcus was aware of the danger surrounding him. This wasn't just about physical strength, but also about ensuring that no one else got hurt in the process. He glanced around at the frightened faces of fellow diners. Some were recording on their phones while others looked on in horror. He knew he had to end this quickly before someone got seriously injured. With a final burst of energy, Marcus executed a series of well-placed strikes that incapacitated 2 more members of the gang. The remaining attackers hesitated, their bravado faltering as they realized they were outmatched. Seeing their leader sprawled on the ground, groaning in pain, and their comrades unable to continue fighting, they turned on their heels and fled from the diner, leaving behind chaos and disbelief. Breathing heavily, Marcus surveyed the scene around him. The overturned tables, shattered glassware, and stunned patrons slowly emerging from their shock. He felt a mix of triumph and concern wash over him. He had defended himself successfully, but at what cost? The diner owner rushed over, gratitude etched on her face, mixed with concern for her establishment's reputation. "Are you okay?" she asked breathlessly, as she helped him steady himself against a booth. "I'm fine," Marcus replied, though he could feel adrenaline still coursing through him. Just another day. But deep down, he knew this wasn't just another day. It was a turning point, a moment when he had reclaimed not only his dignity, but also his identity as someone who wouldn't be pushed around anymore. As sirens wailed in the distance, signaling law enforcement's arrival, Marcus took a deep breath and prepared for what would come next. Questions from police officers about what had transpired and how he would explain this violent confrontation without revealing too much about his past. But for now, all he could do was stand tall amidst the wreckage and reflect on how quickly life can change when faced with hate, and how sometimes it takes an unexpected fight to remind oneself of who they truly are. The flashing lights of the police cars painted the diner in an unsettling strobe, a stark contrast to the warm, inviting atmosphere it had held just moments before. Officers swarmed the scene, their faces grim as they assessed the damage and interviewed witnesses. Marcus stood calmly to the side, answering their questions with measured responses, carefully omitting the more sensitive details of his past. Maria, the diner owner, vouched for Marcus, praising his bravery and emphasizing that he had acted solely in self-defense. Other patrons chimed in, corroborating her story and condemning the gang's unprovoked attack. Despite the overwhelming evidence in his favor, Marcus knew that the situation was far from over. The gang members, fueled by their twisted ideology and connections within the community, wouldn't let this go easily. As the police investigation unfolded, Marcus found himself becoming a reluctant hero, his story spreading like wildfire through social media and local news outlets. Some hailed him as a symbol of resistance against hate, while others questioned his actions, scrutinizing his past and raising doubts about his motives. The attention was both flattering and unsettling, drawing him further into the spotlight he desperately tried to avoid. Meanwhile, the gang's connections within the town began to surface. It turned out they were affiliated with a larger white supremacist group with a history of violence and intimidation. The local authorities, under pressure from both the community and outside organizations, launched a full-scale investigation into the gang's activities, uncovering a web of hate crimes and illegal operations. Marcus realized that this was more than just a personal vendetta. It was a systemic problem rooted in ignorance, prejudice, and a lack of opportunity. He decided to use his newfound platform to speak out against hate and advocate for social justice, partnering with local organizations and community leaders to promote understanding and equality. His efforts didn't come without resistance. He faced threats, harassment, and attempts to discredit him, but he remained steadfast in his commitment to fighting for what was right. He knew that changing hearts and minds wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to create a better future for his community and for future generations. The gang members were eventually brought to justice, facing serious charges for their hate crimes and violent actions. Their arrest sent a clear message that such behavior wouldn't be tolerated, and their convictions helped to dismantle the white supremacist group's influence in the area. As the dust settled, Oakwood began to heal, the scars of the attack serving as a reminder of the importance of unity and vigilance. Marcus continued to work tirelessly to promote positive change, using his story to inspire others to stand up against hate and injustice. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, proving that even in the darkest of times, ordinary people can do extraordinary things to make the world a better place. Subscribe and follow for more stories of triumph over adversity, community strength, and unwavering hope.